Good morning and welcome to your professional development. This presentation has been made by us to enhance your understanding and begin conversations around integrated studies. We want to use this in our teaching and to use this through focusing on the Australian curriculum and gathering information to create an integrated curriculum. We will be focusing on the multidisciplinary approach, the interdisciplinary approach, and the transdisciplinary approach. We hope you enjoy and have lots of questions and learning for us at the end of our presentation. Good morning and welcome to your
The multidisciplinary approach to curriculum integration focuses primarily the shared model of integration stems from the multidisciplinary framework because it outlines two or more disciplines having overlaps in concepts and content. These disciplines are usually complementary subjects that are partnered together deliberately to produce an emphasis on shared attitude and skills. Harden 2000. Topics are rearranged to coincide with one another through collaboration, shared planning, considering the relationships between subjects and the establishment of similarities that can be taught simultaneously to create authentic learning experiences, student efficiency, and focus on big ideas. Barra 2012. Students are able to gain exposure from multiple perspectives and develop transferable skills in this model. Fogarty 1991 relates a visual metaphor of binoculars to this model, as there are two lenses or disciplines focusing on a singular image, skill, or theme. Overlaps in foundational inquiry skills such as questioning familiar objects, people, events, and places are present in both foundational HAS and science disciplines. This particular inquiry skills are taught simultaneously across both disciplines so that primary students can get a feel of who they are as a learner and begin their journey as an inquirer. Educators would collaborate and rearrange learning so that these activities and lessons about inquiry skills and questioning are synchronized. In a HAS foundation class, students are learning about themselves under the focus question, what makes me me? A show and tell activity about students' families or personal items allows students to pose questions about the past and present and allows them to talk about objects, people, and places. Akara 2018. Concurrently, in a foundation science class, students are learning about the Earth under the focus questions, what do humans need to survive? In a group sorting activity, students are able to sort essential and non-essential items found in everyday life. Students are directed to consider home and school items and their importance, also posing and responding to questions. Akara 2018. Seeking answers to questions and making observations is a core inquiry skill that will help students to apply their learning to real life problems and retain learnt information. Drake 2004. The Australian Curriculum Akara 2018 acknowledges that not all learning fits into the provided subject areas and disciplines. Within this framework, there are multiple crossovers in content, skills, and themes, as disciplines are not fixed but interconnected to enrich students' educational experience. Reformed pedagogy accounts for 21st century students' needs and interests, and the demand for collaboration and shared planning. The general capabilities can be shared across and between disciplines through the use of multimodal resources to encourage critical thinking, ethical and intercultural understandings, personal social capability, and literacy and numeracy. Using numeracy as an example of analyzing statistical information and data can be found in both foundational mathematics classes and humanities and social science classes. John Dewey is one of the most influential educational philosophers to date. His theories of social learning and learning by doing are based from students' needs and interests, leading teacher instruction. Dewey, 1938. His works highlight multidisciplinary and shared models of teaching as suitable for 21st century learners in comparison to traditional models. From his constructivist theory, student-centered and project-based learning was born. Gutak, 2014. Educators are required to problem solve through critical discussion and collaboration in order to develop learning activities that are interchangeable, flexible, and synchronized with complementary disciplines in this theory. Williams, 2017. Taylor, 2005, suggests Dewey's responsive curriculum and classroom framework lead to increased academic achievement and social emotional learning inside the classroom and in the community. Globalization has had a major effect on teaching and learning in the 21st century. Globalization has increased the interconnectedness of subjects and need for an integrated curriculum. Using a similar theme, issue, or topic across and between disciplines is a component of 21st century education, made possible through collaboration, use of multimodal resources, and project-based learning. Van Dijk, 1998, supports the notion that the relationship between cognition, society, and collaboration is celebrated in the shared model, where greater knowledge and skills can be applied in diverse environments and scenarios. However, insufficient input from team members and lack of clarity can poke holes in the shared model. Moving away from the traditional one-size-fits-all approach allows students to be a part of the decision-making processes. Zamunda, 2009. Holistic approaches like this increase the accuracy of assessment, sharing different perspectives and links to the community to enable students to develop transferable skills that can be used in the real world. Educators need to work with minimal planning time to make shared learning and multidisciplinary teaching successful. P. Fur, 1980.
Through Fogarty's model of integrated learning, we can see that the interdisciplinary approach is able to occur between subject areas. It means we can mix and combine the Australian curriculum to create an interdisciplinary learning approach through all years of learning. It complements and expands education across our curriculum, and it teaches us to overlap subjects by integrating them together. We are allowing students to collaborate, and we are enriching the curriculum and skills of our students by teaching this approach and having our students learn from it as well as us. The interdisciplinary approach to the Australian curriculum allows education to approach a holistic level and enables students to learn and connect their knowledge in other subjects to form a greater meaningful further extension of their learning. It also encourages a combination of multidiscipline subjects. They work by being webbed and entwined together to expand the learning journey that's beyond the fragmented and single subject teaching that we know in our curriculum. It also approaches and emphasizes meaning rather than the product and content, as we can combine theories, methodologies, and perspectives from two or more disciplines to create an education and a lesson that allows outside things and experiences to come together as a whole approach. I want to explore with you some examples and concepts of interdisciplinary thinking that our students will have while exploring this. They'll be able to use project based learning and examine multiple disciplines from their common skills, concepts, and ideas, things that they already have as a habit, example, reading, writing, is going to be able to be taken across the other disciplines. They can pose questions, make connections, explore solutions, and engage in real world scenarios while applying the transfers of knowledge to different contexts. It's broad. We can use the humanities, we can use geography, we can use English, we can use as many subjects as we like to interconnect to each other to be able to have children and students to explore different things while building essential questions to the different subject areas, but working together and collaborating this knowledge to create interdisciplinary learning. As you can see from the diagram, uh, we're looking at themes and concepts that can be intertwined together to create the interdisciplinary practice. It moves between subjects and creates collaboration between teachers, and together teachers will use their strengths and bring their strengths to collaborate with other teachers so that we can bring across interdisciplinary practice to our classrooms and therefore show examples of how we are doing it too. This is encouraged so that we can build lessons together and build experiences for students that we can rely on their strengths in subject areas and they can mix and intertwine to bring us education that we can assess and see where their levels are at. Now, this is exciting. This is an example that I'd like to show you all, which is aimed at year fours and called World Traveller. So, this is an example of interdisciplinary practice that we can have children explore, and I think they would be very excited to do. So, they would we would designate them time for independent study in a library or computer room, and students would work to create a week-long travel itinerary to their ideal destination, and it would include landmarks and historical significances, popular food dishes, languages or dialects spoken in the country, cultural events, and any information that they want to give us for the itinerary. Um, it can also lend itself as a language interdisciplinary too. If students are learning French, Italian, they can do the pamphlet and itinerary in that language as well. So, in here we have a range of inquiry and skills, language, digital technology, and English. And as teachers, we can collaborate and use our strengths to bring this lesson to life in the classroom. The John Dewey theory supports interdisciplinary curriculum, and according to his studies, teachers take more of a background role and facilitate the lesson. Students are able to lead their learning and model their strengths and abilities and work on integrating skills and collaborating together. In modern times, they can do this through ICT and technology as well. As long as the students are learning and using everything that they have available to them, they are learning interdisciplinary curriculums and skills. My evaluation of the interdisciplinary approach shows benefits of the approach using skills that they can transfer through to other education where they can learn through overlapping subjects, which also helps timelines with assessments and collaborating those together. Some negatives may present where there could be a fuzzy line between assessing certain subjects. However, positives are time management, the product of the students' work where they can transfer their skills into different areas of education, and students are able to explore and enhance learned skills in the classroom and in everyday life.
As with the previous two approaches, I'll now cover the transdisciplinary approach. The transdisciplinary curriculum integration is the integration of learning beyond the subject areas. The two models of learning that are used within the transdisciplinary approach is the networked model and the immersion model. The immersion model of learning is when students are immersed in their learning and link their content with their interests that they are pursuing. An example of this is a doctoral student who views all their learnings through their area of expertise. In the networked model of learning, students are part of a team of experts who share their knowledge to achieve their learning outcomes. They draw on each person's expert knowledge to contribute to the overall project. Following slides, I'll take you through examples of the transdisciplinary approach and the two models of learning in practice. Firstly, I'd just like to talk you through how the transdisciplinary approach is thought of and the work that would go into planning a lesson for the transdisciplinary approach. So, when planning a transdisciplinary unit of learning, the teacher would start with a problem, or the students would choose an area of interest. This would be agreed upon between the students and the teacher, and the problem or idea would be project-based or community-focused. The best way to set up these learning experiences for students is by using the backward design process. This way, the teacher is able to have a well-planned and thought-out unit of learning that effectively links curriculum outcomes and embeds appropriate assessment methods. This will depend on the age and stage of the student and the areas that are being incorporated and investigated. In this slide, I will discuss the immersion model in practice. I've chosen grade 4 and the learning areas of science, English, HASS, and including general capabilities of information and communication technology. In the first instance, the main area covered learning area would be science, and the content would be living things depend on each other and the environment to survive. The main question for this project would be, what do living things need to survive? The unit of learning would be designed around that question and then linked back to the science strand, English, which would include plan, draft, and publish informative or persuasive text containing key information and supporting details for a widening range of audiences, demonstrating increased control over text structure and language features. And HASS, which would include presents ideas, findings, and conclusions in texts and modes that incorporate digital and non-digital representations and discipline-specific terms. The general capabilities of information and communication technology would be by exploring and designing their report on a PC or laptop, and the investigation would take part in groups so that students would scaffold their learning with their peers. The networked model in practice would include the same year level, year 4, and the same content areas of science, HASS, English, and information and communication technologies in the general capabilities strand. In the networked model, students would pair up and investigate their area of expertise. So, for example, one group would investigate living things, the next group would investigate the environment, and a third group would be responsible for design and presentation of the project, which would include the ICT components. All teams would collaborate and contribute to the final piece of work, and in this way, students would learn from their peers by relaying information without actually doing the research, only specifying their one subject or following their one train of inquiry. In this way, students would share information and receive information that they otherwise may not have been able to access on their own. As with the previous two learning models, the transdisciplinary learning model also relies heavily upon John Dewey and his experiential learning theory. John Dewey advocates for the education of the whole child to develop their social and emotional development. Dewey asserts that children learn from authentic experiences. For deep learning, the experience must be child-led and professionally planned with incorporated assessment. The experiences should be simple and easy for children to follow. They must be highly planned with structured assessment to ensure that outcomes are achieved for the children. The experiences must be authentic and not contrived, and the most important part of transdisciplinary teaching learning model is that the areas that are investigated are constructed from the student's choice and follows their interest. This way, it is constructed from personal meaning, and students will achieve far better outcomes when they show interest or have interest in the areas that they are studying. To evaluate the transdisciplinary approach, we will look at the aspects of the approach that are supportive of positive learning outcomes. The transdisciplinary approach is child-centered. This ensures that students are learning as they are following their interest and are engaged in their learning. It is peer-led, and teachers are there to scaffold and support students' learning, not to teach or transmit information to students. Skill is required to perform this, but with careful instruction, student teachers or new teachers will be able to achieve this. Teachers become more like a coach who can engage and scaffold students to achieve better learning outcomes. The transdisciplinary approach is effective in developing the cross-curriculum priorities in students, which in turn will support the Melbourne Declaration's outcomes for creating active and informed citizens, successful learners, and confident and creative individuals by embedding in them 21st century skills that will take them into their future roles, whatever that may be. Careful planning is required to ensure that students' learning outcomes are being met and that the curriculum delivered is one that develops the whole child and is meeting students' academic progress needs. This could prove problematic for new or learning teachers. However, this can easily be overcome with skilled and supportive school leadership. Overall, the theories and structures of the transdisciplinary approach are conducive to the learning outcomes of the Australian curriculum and are supported by the Australian curriculum to be implemented within schools to support children and their learning.
In conclusion, the multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary approaches across several disciplines and the transdisciplinary approach within and across learners are necessary for curriculum integration. Fogarty's shared, integrated, immersed, and networked models of integration play an integral role in increasing collaboration among staff members and creating authentic learning experiences that will allow students to transfer their knowledge and skills to real life situations. Education would not be where it is today without the works of John Dewey and his theories surrounding experiential social learning techniques. We would like to thank you for attending this professional development. If you have any queries, feel free to approach us upon leaving.